In this video, I will talk about grafting citrus trees from my own perspective. In doing so, I will show you what not to use and what not to do. This could be of interest to gardeners who are beginners in this art, to encourage them to further explore on their own. The second part of the video could be of interest to gardeners who are as broke as me. With that said, let's jump right into it. This is my 16-year-old citrus tree grown from seed. Like many citrus trees grown from seeds, despite its age, it has never flowered. And it might actually never flower. That's fine, I don't want to pressure it. For sure, I can't help thinking about my old citrus tree when I see other people's citrus trees in bloom or loaded with fruits. But I have always managed to resist the desire and temptation of owning a grafted citrus tree. In case you didn't know, the vast majority of citrus trees that flower and bear fruits are grafted trees. Those trees are pretty expensive, but fortunately for me, I'm pretty broke. I have thought about grafting scions of some citrus varieties on my citrus trees grown from seeds, but for some reasons, commercial nurseries do not seem to sell citrus scions, at least here in Canada. Considering how expensive scions of apple trees sell for, I assume citrus scions would be even more expensive if they were available. I understand that nurseries have to make a profit, especially in the current economic context of high inflation, so I do not blame them. When it comes to grafting, I'm pretty rusty myself. The last time I grafted something was, I can't remember. So forking some hard-earned cash to get some scions with the prospect that all the grafted trees can fail is not the best option for me. The best option is to get free scions from someone who owns a citrus tree that has already flowered. Citrus tree owners have to regularly prune their trees, especially in cold climates, to keep their trees small in order to be able to move them indoors during the cold season. The ideal scion should roughly have the thickness of a pencil. As a matter of fact, I do a hard prune of my old citrus tree almost every year so I can keep it in the same pot. And it is not uncommon for me to get rid of branches that are pencil thick. If by any chance some commercial nursery owners were watching this video, here is an idea for you. You guys could offer free scions, while quantities last of course, to clients who buy grafted trees from you to sweeten the deal. Adding a few free scions to a shipment of bare root or potted trees should be economically viable for you, without impacting the weight and shipment costs for your clients. That could be a key differentiator in the current economic context. But I digress. For the rootstock, the cheapest option is to grow your own from seed. I find that citrus seeds are easy to germinate compared with other tropical and subtropical fruit trees. Besides, if you live in a cold climate, you will probably keep your citrus trees in a pot forever. So the rationale behind getting a special dwarfing rootstock from a commercial nursery is not as strong. Dwarfing rootstocks for potted citrus trees do help keep the trees smaller, but the same can be achieved with regular pruning of the foliage and the root system. If you can afford a grafting knife, go for it. I would suggest going for the best quality knife you can get for the money. A good grafting knife can come with a bark lifter, but for a beginner I think this is more of a nice-to-have feature. Should you spend real money on a grafting knife, the must-have feature in my opinion is that the knife should be single bevel. Most of the so-called grafting knives sold online are double bevel. Actually, most of the times, this feature is not even mentioned in the description of the knife, and you have to go through customer reviews to find out. A single bevel knife, when used with proper technique, is either for a left-handed or a right-handed grafter, depending on which side the bevel is. So make sure you are getting the right knife. By the way, if you happen to be left-handed, your single bevel grafting knife might be more expensive. C'est la vie. Grafting tools could be an interesting option for beginners. Some come in kits that include grafting knives, which of course are also most of the times double bevel. But this video is for grafters that are not only beginners but also broke. If this is indeed your case and you cannot or do not want to buy any gears, I believe you should get at least a roll or two of grafting tape. If you are really on a budget, an option would be to use polyethylene food wrap. The disadvantage of polyethylene is the lack of adhesive, which makes it more difficult to work with. Other viable cheap alternatives include electrical tape, duct tape, and masking tape. Actually, in 1990, West Virginia University published an article comparing all these options with grafting tape. The study concluded that there were indeed good alternatives to grafting tape, except for masking tape, which has the tendency to unravel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. The second part of this video deals with quantum physics applied to an extreme grafting technique. It also contains a review of a very bad sacrificial blade, with graphic scenes of plant mutilation, along with fruit fluid absorption.
That's gross.
I was inspired to make this video by the comment left by a viewer who stopped watching a previous video I made after I pronounced 3 words at the very beginning of the video. I will pronounce those 3 forbidden words again in this second part. Depending on the path you have chosen to follow in your current life, watching this second part might be beneficial or harmful, I can say. And I cannot guarantee either that what follows will actually work or fulfill the intended purpose. You have been warned. Still here? Okay, let's go. You can jump ahead to the sections you are more interested in using the timeline feature below. Gerber Legendary Plates, owned by Finnish firm Fiskars, is one of the most well-known American makers of knives. Their product lineup includes everyday carry knives, multi-tools, along with other products for outdoors and military use. They also got you covered for end-of-the-world type of situations with products like the Zombie Apocalypse 7 knife kit, which unfortunately they had to discontinue, having bet on the wrong pandemic maybe. However, for the average homesteader and gardener, Gerber's product offering does suffer from another more serious gaping hole with the lack of a good grafting knife. Strangely enough, Gerber still produces one of the worst reviewed pocket knives in North America, the Gerber Paraframe. I got mine more than 10 years ago because to me it had 2 qualities, superb aesthetics and an unbeatable price point. I believe I got it for $15 or less, on sale at a big box store. I think it was on sale for a rock bottom price after being hammered by so many bad reviews. I've actually never used it, as people were saying it could not hold its edge for long, so I just kept it as a souvenir. But for the extreme grafting I was about to perform, I wanted the worst knife possible, something barely better than a bad steak knife. So I naturally thought about my Gerber Paraframe collecting dust in a drawer somewhere. To be fair, it's not a bad knife. Opening it with one hand can feel awkward at first, but after some practice, flamenco guitar players or electric guitar shredders should not have any problem with a rapid snap of the wrist. After more than 10 years out of the box, kind of, it was... Yes, but I have seen much sharper than this. Next, I needed the cheapest citrus sign I could find in Canada in wintertime. So I went to a grocery store looking for some citrus fruits with green leaves still attached to the fruits, and I found these very nice looking clementines. I'm not sure where they came from. There was a sticker on one of them with USA written on the sticker. After doing some research on the web, I found that the clementines originated from orchards near the city of Valencia in Spain. They were most probably of the Clemenoless variety, but I cannot confirm. I chose the clementines with the freshest looking leaves and stems, as my idea was to use the stems as scions. I had initially planned to graft the scions from the store-bought clementines onto my oldest citrus tree, but given how thin they were, a far cry from the standard pencil-sized scions you can get from a nursery, I eventually decided to graft them onto one of my 2-year-old citrus saplings. With such small scions, I knew I needed a miracle. Besides, I did not know when the fruits were harvested back in Spain, how long it took to import them to Canada, and how long they sat on the shelves of the grocery store before I brought them back home. That's when I read that comment from a viewer saying he stopped watching one of my videos just after hearing me say the 3 words diversity, equity, inclusion. I'm not sure he really understood the spin, but that's okay. I think it's normal that after swinging very hard to one side, now the pendulum is swinging very hard to the other side. That's déjà vu. But how did the powers that be manage to turn in just a few years 3 virtues into 3 sins to be avoided like a plague? The inversion of values and symbols must have originated from a powerful disruption of the spacetime continuum. After undertaking my own investigation, it became clear to me that everything started with the discovery of the Higgs boson on the 4th of July 2012 at the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC, beneath the France-Switzerland border near Geneva. This subatomic particle was the missing element to prove the existence of the Higgs field, which gives mass to many elementary particles. No Higgs field, no mass. When New Age groups refer to the quantum field, or returning to the source, also known as Christ consciousness, they probably mean the Higgs field, without often knowing it. As for the Higgs boson, it was at some point called the God particle by the scientific community, which eventually decided that this name was scientifically inaccurate and could be seen as disrespectful to religion. Talking about being disrespectful to religion, in 2004 while the LHC was being built, its operator, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, known as CERN, unveiled a 2-meter tall statue of the supreme Indian god Shiva. Nothing wrong with that, as the statue was a gift from the Indian government. Actually, maybe benevolent Shiva blessed the LHC with the discovery of the Higgs boson 8 years later in 2012. Who knows? What could be a bit more problematic, though, was the human sacrificial ritual performed in front of the statue in 2016. It is unclear when the ritual was recorded, but the video was first published on August 11 of that year. While CERN stated that the video was only a prank, they nevertheless confirmed that the pranksters must have been CERN employees or visiting scientists with security clearance. About 2 months before the release of this creepy video, on June 1, 2016, another strange ceremony took place for the opening of the Gotthard base tunnel, also in Switzerland. With a length of 57 kilometers, this tunnel is the world's longest railway and deepest tunnel, more than twice as long as the LHC. The region around the tunnel is home to many myths, notably the Devil's Bridge legend. According to the legend, the local people recruited the devil for the difficult task of building a bridge across the Schollemann Gorge. As a price to pay for his effort, the devil requested the soul of the first human to pass the bridge, but he was eventually tricked by the humans who sent him a dog instead. I'm not sure whether Shiva appreciated those 2 ceremonies. According to CERN, the year 2016 was an exceptional year for the LHC. Did the experiments create other god particles? If so, which god was that? Perhaps Moloch, Baal, or another lesser deity Shiva mandated to come to the human realm in accordance with the spirit of the 2016 ceremonies. Just in case the ceremonies unleashed the wrath of Shiva or disrupted the equilibrium of the human realm, I thought it could be helpful to make offerings to the King Cobra dancer. Besides, I needed a miracle to successfully perform my extreme citrus craft, so maybe I could get 2 miracles for the price of 1. It is unclear to me whether there are any benefits to harvesting clementines with leaves. Does it help preserve the fruit longer? I'm not sure. What I do know is that clementines with leaves have an aesthetic appeal and are sought after by some Eastern cultures during the time around the Lunar New Year. Citrus fruits are used as offerings to various deities and ancestral spirits. Fruits with leaves are often preferred since they also have an ornamental quality. One of the best fruits to offer Shiva is the Baal fruit, which belongs to the citrus family. So I figured clementines will do just fine for Shiva. The clementines from Spain looked very nice. They were juicy, not too sweet, and not too tangy. Wow. I practiced making a cleft graft with 2 thin scions from the fruits. I had no issues making the desired cuts with my Gerber Paraframe. My grafting technique is atrocious, but as I said, I was a bit rusty, and the scions were so thin. This will not be the proper technique with thicker scions. Then I turned to my 2-year-old citrus sapling and pruned it heavily to keep only a few main branches with the same thickness as that of the scions obtained from the fruits, My idea was to induce the rootstock to direct the flow of nutrients to the grafted scions. Finally, I grafted the scions onto the remaining branches of the rootstock with grafting tape. After a week, I checked the grafted scions. They still looked healthy green, so I decided it was worth the extra effort to further secure the graft unions with elastic bands. I don't know if my actions will help bring beneficial change and renewal to the current human realm. I'm just like the dwarf at Natajara's feet. May Shiva trample my spiritual ignorance and crush my stupidity in his cosmic dance.
In place of a Dark Lord, you would have a queen!
But if you are curious about the success of this extreme grafting technique, be sure to like and subscribe for updates. And in my book, if you watched all the way to the end, you passed the test.
I pass the test. I will diminish and go into the west and remain Galadriel.